I'm Lawren Campbell from Resergle Place, and today we are at the Magnetic Hill Winery in Moncton, and I'm here with Janet Everett.
Woo!
So we first met when I worked for the province ages ago, and you had just purchased what was originally the Marjorie Lutz residence here on Upper Mountain Road. Is that way Upper Mountain Road?
Way back in 2003.
Was it 2003? Wow, long time ago.
Believe, right?
Now, for someone to look at that building in the state that it was, that didn't know heritage, had no interest in heritage, could have easily just looked at it and going, I love the land. First thing it's going to do is that building's coming down. Can you describe the condition? First, let's describe the condition that you first saw when you purchased the original building.
Well, I guess when you looked at the roof structure itself, it actually was still very square. And so that was a good sign. And then what we loved about it, it was still the original inside. So a lot of times a house that old, it gets stripped of all its character. So we could just see the potential in the restoration part of it.
Now, it was in disrepair. It had been unoccupied for a couple of decades.
Yes, 20 years at least. It was Marjorie Lutz, and she sort of was back and forth a bit, but most of the time for that term, it was vacant.
And so the state, you said the bones of it were good, but I don't know if I recollect a picture or whether I came to visit in the winter and there was actually snow in one of the rooms from one of the windows.
Yes, yeah, and one of the nightmares for us was there were actually porcupines in the attic. So, we even developed a wine after that theme, and we called it the Go Wild with this porcupine on the front. So, us being next to the zoo, it just was sort of a cool story. But yes, it was definitely, some of the windows have been broken out over the years. A lot of people used to party in the house. And a lot of people refer to it as the haunted house on the hill. Now we say it's just a house full of good spirits.
Ah, nice. Great. So your business, let's describe your business. So you see this, and it wasn't for your personal residence, it was for an enterprise. So describe to me what enterprise you were going, that was part of this vision when you saw and purchased this house and property.
Well, we had the farm on Gorge Road, Utopia U-Pick, the strawberry raspberry farm. And as a farmer, we were looking for ways to diversify, because you got a picture, you had to bring your income in 1 month, live on it all year long. It was like a roller coaster ride. So at that same time, the New Brunswick government was piloting or establishing the winery policy. And so we thought, what a way to opt in. When you're creating a new business, you think, New Brunswick, maybe one way to diversify was alcohol. So we thought, 5,000 bottles would just help establish that year-round cash flow.
So in your mind, this building that needed a lot of repair, despite being good bones, a big investment of time, energy, money to bring this back. Why not just tear it down and build a fresh building?
Well, Jeff and I, we have always eyed this property ever since we moved to Moncton. And so it just seemed when it came available at the same time that we were looking or thinking of starting the winery, we just thought it was the perfect location. You're right next to a great story, the Magnetic Hill, so you already have a great flow of tours. So we say, not only do we want the tours to feel the pull of the hill, but we want them to pull into our driveway, right?
Nice.
So I guess, and the other thing is, whenever you're creating a business, they always say those that have a story are probably will be more successful. And to us, this place definitely had a story. And the way that it overlooks the city of Moncton, we just thought, it should be opened to the public so they can come and experience the views and experience the wine.
Excellent. So we're actually sitting in, for the most part, the original barn that was attached to the building. Tell us about what you did with the barn and why the barn wasn't something that you just disregarded, and sort of how it plays into the whole property.
Yeah, it took us a little while to get down to the bones in this barn because actually, when we opened up the doors, it was chest level full of stuff. But anyway, we just saw the potential in it, and so it was very, very rough. A lot of the barn boards on the outside were falling down. But again, the main structure was good. And so we just thought it would be a great entertaining spot. So what we did is we pulled the barn off of the house, angled it, made the courtyard, and just restored the barn. So basically, we did have to rebuild one end because, of course, when it was attached to the house, that was open space.
Right, yes, yes.
So we were able to get some old barn boards and beams. So really, for people that don't know, it actually looks like the original.
It sure does. You did a fantastic job. And you had mentioned that even the orientation of where the stairs in here to go to the loft, that it's all in the original position. It really is a throwback. Now, you obviously were successful enough to decide to do some major improvements to the grounds, extensions on the building itself, and the new building that you have.
Yes, so I guess originally, like, we did open the business in 2005. I can sort of remember some of the customers' comments at that time because you have to remember this barn was still sort of sitting here in disarray. We had the downstairs where we were making the wines and doing the tasting open to the public. But, some people would say, from the front it was in quite a bit of disarray still. So we decided at that time to then work on the main part of the house. We were still running the farm, so during the winter months, we would come down here and start tearing everything apart and getting it all restored. Like even the plaster laths, we did have to strip everything out of the house, keep it all, insulate it, wire and plumb it, and then put it all back together again. So again, when you walk into the inside of the house, it is still the original floor plan and all the original woodwork.
Excellent. Now, you did tell us a story. I'm going to make sure we don't forget it, about the laths. Sometimes when you have to do this kind of stuff, that the cost and even the skill set to redo plaster is disappearing. So if you replaced it with gyprock or sheetrock to finish your walls, it doesn't mean you necessarily discarded all of that old lath.
Yeah, so the wood again was in perfect condition, and I just said, Jeff, we can't take this to the garbage. We have to find a use for it. So one day I just started to design a box that held 2 bottles of wine. And then once we got them made, we just pressure washed the old plaster off, and it just looks like a beautiful heritage box. And then, of course, you wrap it and put your ribbons on it and cards. So those gift boxes, it's pretty amazing because from that wood, those plaster laths, we actually had created enough gift boxes for what we had paid for the property. Now that's over a time frame. It
Sure,
wasn't overnight.
but the investment in recycling
exactly
pays off in the end. That's fantastic. Now, speaking of recycling, you do have a brand new building attached that is just phenomenal, and the views and the hominess that is created when you walk into this beautiful open space, 2-story open space. But it's not all new build. Tell us about some of the elements that you incorporated and where some of that material came from.
So again, I guess the structure, we wanted to maintain the story and the history of everything here. That was very important to us. So we shaped it the shape of a barn. And then there are so many barns falling down in New Brunswick. So what we did is the outside of the barn is mostly covered with the old rusted metal from the roofs of some of these old falling down barns. And then when you go inside, we wanted to continue that character. So everything is modernly made. The post beam construction is not, it's more looks than structural. So we just were able to put a lot of post beam construction up to maintain that beautiful old looking character. I think we have the equivalent of about 3 barns now that on our property that we've recycled.
So from the beams to the large, wide, traditional floorboards, you've, as much as possible, recouped that from other buildings,
Yeah.
other barns.
And even the floorboards, you know, like they come from different sites, they're painted different colors. Well, we wanted to still keep that, so we just mixed the floorboards in through the design so that you still had all that original old paint.
Creating this tapestry of heritage from all over
Exactly.
the region. And another detail that I don't want to leave out when you walk in, other than it being clean and modern, but still very rustic and connected to nature and the earth, you look up. What do you see on that second floor when you look up?
Exactly. You know, New Brunswick is famous for covered bridges. So Heartland has the longest, and now we can actually say we have the shortest and probably the newest one here at Magnetic Hill. It just connects one area to the second area for seating, and so people are loving it. You know, you're at the second level looking down and at all the heritage that we've created.
Excellent. I want to ask you about one more detail, and again, we're talking the amount of recycling here really is something to commend you for. Just unbelievable recycling from materials from other barns, but also within your own building. Tell us about the 2-story brick work that you have in the new addition.
Well, again, the house, before we could lift the house up, and the flues weren't functionable anyway. There were 2 old flues in the house. So instead of just taking them and throwing them away, we literally dismantled them, carried them down so they wouldn't break, piled them on pallets. And we've been storing those pallets for a lot of years. But anyway, it's so great to see that brick from the original house going to work on those walls. And the lower part, it is a propane fireplace, but it still has an old looking crate in front of it, so it has that great character. And again, the stone of that hearth was actually the stone in the hearth of the summer kitchen that we did tear off of the back of the house. Right. And we have lugged that rock around for 15 years, so we are so happy to finally find a home for it.
Well, it paid off. It paid off. Those details, it really, again, you walk in and it's been renovated and restored. You walk into the past when you walk here. But the blend of the new and the blend of the old is just really remarkable. And then when you hear the stories that you didn't go to a commercial place and find some brick or some wood that's labeled as, oh, this is barn board brand. Exactly. It's actually from barns, actually from the house that you renovated. So what can you tell me about the biggest challenges, or the biggest challenge you had turning this 20-year abandoned house into your project?
Well, I guess it has been a work in progress for over 15 years now, right? And so it wasn't that we had the image at the very beginning. We definitely have always wanted to restore as much as we can. And I guess the biggest challenge was probably still running the business and still doing all the work, the extra work. Jeff and I are very hands-on people. So we've, him and a carpenter, of course we had trades doing the electrical and the plumbing, and but they were the main focus on that building. So the building itself actually took 5 years to build.
Wow.
And so it's just stepping stones along the way. I'm glad you recognize sort of the restoration of all the heritage, but yet we did want that modern twist. So, we made all the countertops out of the concrete. Another story that I love about the property is, we're at least 5-generation farmers, and the plow that is over the cash register area is now a light. And that plow was actually my husband's grandfather's plow.
Oh, nice.
And so, it's just keeping the story of the generations of agriculture alive. And another one of the light fixtures that are over the bar used to be from the old dairy stanchions. They had a metal system, and so that's what we made that light fixture from, is from the old metal, and from there.
Excellent. I mean, we could probably talk and go around and talk for hours about each little element and the amount of detail and the amount of effort and attention to maintain certain details. It's not just about leaving it in place. You sometimes have to do a bit of a retrofit in order to keep the old thing, keep it up to code, all this other stuff, but you managed.
Yes, it was very challenging, and like I often say, when you look at my hands, I probably have worked 3 lifetimes now, because, it's been quite a struggle at times. I would think probably some people would have given up before they got this far, but, Jeff and I and our son's coming back to join our business, and his partners, so it's great to see things continuing on, and, they love the concept of preserving as well, so.
Well, that is fantastic. So kudos to you again for really the grounds, the buildings that you've accomplished over 15 plus years.
Well, I'm sitting here and I'm looking at those stones, like
Yeah.
all the stones that or a lot of the stones that we landscape with have a story too.
Okay.
These ones are from the foundation of the old house. So
Okay.
of course, when it was lifted up, we had stockpiled them, and that's what we've done our rock wall with. But all these other large rocks, when Jeff and I was farming on the Gorge Road in Stylesville, well, you remember you passed 2 or 3 rock quarries to get to that farm. Well, all those rocks we cleared from our land to farm, and we had stockpiled them, and now we have brought them down here to bring all that effort back into it. Jeff loves his rocks, so anyway, so pretty fun.
Awesome. Well, I think that's it, but I do encourage people to come and do a wine tasting or host an event or just tour the grounds. The view is spectacular. Pretty much all season. You're going to see you're going to see Moncton almost all the way to Riverview on some days, I imagine.
Well,
just fantastic.
Actually on a clear day, you see the windmills. And
wow.
there's 32 of them.
You can count them.
And that's probably about an hour and a half's drive
Yeah.
away. So that's how far the view is. It's pretty amazing.
Excellent. Well, it's a real treasure. If I describe it as a hidden treasure, I would like that to not be the case anymore. It needs to be a celebrated treasure, not for just what the business is and what it means for Greater Moncton and for southeastern New Brunswick, but a treasure from a heritage point of view. So thank you and Jeff and Zach and the family for continuing this effort. The City of Moncton appreciates what you've done here.
Oh, well, thank you. And let's cheers to life's magnetic moments.